Lucky Star was finally released on Blu-ray by Funimation and it is completely awesome. It includes the entire series plus the OVA, multiple discs worth of special features including an on-screen reference guide, and all for under $50. It's great! And if you live in the UK and buy Anime Limited's Collector's Edition, you get this gorgeous little art booklet and slipcover. I cannot recommend this purchase enough for anyone that even remotely enjoys Lucky Star. And you know I mean it because nobody even paid me to say it. Anyway, while rewatching the series in its entirety for the first time since 2014, I found myself really appreciating one aspect of the show's writing that I hadn't really considered before, and that is the role that familial relations play in its characterization. If you've watched a lot of anime, you've likely noticed just how many series downplay the role of parent characters. For the most part, anime tends to write around families, or just write them out of the story entirely, usually through very contrived means. In a lot of these shows, you probably didn't even notice these characters had parents, which is particularly aggravating in slice of life shows that are trying to portray a more grounded, believable setting. Why is this? Well, there's a lot of answers to that question, namely that authoritative figures like parents don't really lend themselves well to the kind of otherworldly hijinks most anime teenagers tend to get up to. It's a lot easier to just hand-wave the matter with a quick, oh, my dad's company assigned him to the overseas division and my mom followed him because, you know, why not? Yet, standing in stark contrast to the vast majority of popular anime, not only are the families in Lucky Star prominently featured throughout the entire series, they're also fundamental to the characterization of the entire cast. Konata, for example, is an amalgamation of both of her parents' least flattering traits, her mother's horrible physique and her father's crippling weebiness. In fact, her trademark love of all things geeky is the direct result of being raised by a Gen X otaku, with the two of them bonding over a mutual moe lust that definitely veers into the unhealthy.
Wow, it's a corgi! He's super cute. I don't know about the dog, but the owner's pretty darn cute.
And her thigh-high socks get extra points. There's just enough skin showing between them and her skirt.
She'd look awesome in a gothic maid ensemble.
Konata and her dad's relationship also leads to a really clever role reversal comedically, being that while Kagami is usually the one reacting to Konata's otakuisms, Konata actually ends up playing the straight man in response to her dad's eccentricities, which is a hilarious take on the dynamic we're used to. There's a closeness and intimacy to their dialogue that's indicative of a tight-knit family, and very distinct from the rest of the show. We even get a whole half episode dedicated entirely to painting this beautifully romantic portrait of Konata's mother, which is pretty amazing for a full-coma comedy adaptation. The idea the show is trying to get across is that Konata is the last trace of her mother that her dad has left, which is why he's so obsessively protective of her, and all of this is communicated through simple and believable enough means that makes both characters feel that much more complete and three-dimensional.
You gotta promise me something, honey bunny. Don't die before I do, okay?
Okay, I wasn't really planning on it or anything.
Thanks, kid.
Next up is Kagami and Tsukasa. The whole sweet and sour twin dynamic is nothing new, in fact it's pretty ubiquitous in anime, but again, the detail and context of these two in particular lends their relationship a lot of weight. Kagami and Tsukasa grew up in a household of 4 siblings that was essentially a war zone. They'll steal your clothes without asking, dump their old crap on you against your will, and turn every mealtime into an intense battle for food. Just knowing this little piece of context suddenly makes a lot more sense of their personalities. Kagami is naturally very sharp and confrontational, while Tsukasa is demure and complacent. Kagami is a pragmatic realist, while Tsukasa is a starry-eyed dreamer. The two of them are perfect foils to each other, and the show loves to constantly highlight the differences in their lifestyles and ideologies. But interestingly enough, these conflicting personality traits don't work in opposition to one another, but rather complement each other. Kagami and Tsukasa kind of need each other, and there's a lot of clever hints that they're both directly responsible for the other's personality. The reason Tsukasa is such a slacker is because Kagami's always there to bail her out of her problems, and the reason Kagami is so driven is entirely due to her pride of being the sibling to come out 2 minutes earlier.
Well, I guess it might be my pride at being the older sister. I always felt that pressure, and that's why I work hard, to stay a step ahead of Tsukasa. I know I always tell her that being older or younger doesn't really matter, but I used to think about it a lot.
But does it even matter with Tsukasa? I mean, where's the challenge?
Well, yeah, I guess there isn't any.
Damn you, Kona-chan!
And one more cool detail lies in the Hideki sisters' names. Since their dad is a Shinto priest, all of their names are imbued with some sort of religious undertone. Inori translates to prayer, Matsuri translates to festival, Tsukasa translates to priest, and Kagami translates to mirror, which were traditionally believed to be the home of the gods. And no, the irony is not lost on the show.
Her name's got all these mystical origins, so can someone please tell me how she grew up to be such a hardcore realist?
Miyuki's family dynamic is really interesting. We learned in one episode that the reason she's such a database of random trivial knowledge is because getting complimented by her mother as a kid made her so happy that she felt compelled to look things up and impress her. Now that's pretty adorable in its own right, but it gets better. We also learn that the reason she wears glasses is because her mom used to read her stories before bed. She'd always fall asleep before the end and Miyuki would keep reading in the dark, which slowly deteriorated her eyesight. They're both very ditzy and lackadaisical, and as a result of growing up in such a wealthy home, she has no experience doing chores. Unlike Konata, who grew up without a mother around, is therefore amazing at chores. And I haven't even gotten into all the cousins and neighbors and pets and all the ways they can influence our personalities, like how when Yu-chan moves in and Konata feels a lot more pressure to act like a role model, or how Kagami gets all maternal when she buys a pet goldfish, and so on. What I want you to take away from all of this is just how much thought can go into solid characterization and setting detail. One of the things that makes Lucky Star so distinct from other jokey manga adaptations like Azumanga Daioh or Panny Pony Dash, or really most slice of life shows in general, is this very level of detail. Everyone is so well realized and with lives that clearly extend beyond the screen, which opens them up to so much more versatility in terms of conversations and relationships. The sentiment that this show communicates to me, better than so many other anime, is that we are the product of our home and our families. Households have unique dynamics and rhythms which ultimately mold us into who we become. Everything about these characters makes sense. There isn't a hint of contrivance in this show's DNA, and that's just so rare in anime. And at the end of the day, a slice of life series begins and ends with its characters. The stronger they are, the stronger every other element becomes in turn. They're the foundation of the show. They're at the core of everything that makes it so special. All the humor, all the wonder, all the pathos. It all comes back to the characters. If you've seen an anime with exceptional family dynamics, let me know in the comments, and here's a hideous Lucky Star video I made a year ago if you want to hear more of my thoughts on one of my favourite series. The last year and a half of anime videos has kind of been like a trial run for me. So much has happened and I've learned a lot. Now, it's time to get serious. I've replaced my banged up old laptop with a spiffy new rendering machine, and I've set myself a hard and fast goal for 2017. To grow. Stick around on my channel if you want to see where this journey takes me, and if you want to help me achieve my goals, head on down to my newly decked out Patreon. See you next time.
Miracle,